Can you share with us your basic knowledge about the Penns Valley Area School District's academic performance recognitions, finances, and facilities?
It would be basically hearsay. I am not a sitting board member. I do attend some board meetings. I know we've done well on the PSSAs. We're in debt, and I think we need to improve on both of those. We need to reduce our debt, continue the high level of education that we do provide now, basically.
And Mr. Braucht?
Yeah, I'm not a sitting board member either. This is the first position I've run for politically. Our district actually is doing pretty well. We do carry a $24 million debt. Our budget is $24 million. It was interesting to listen to the other districts and see what their budgets are. We actually do not too bad. Educational-wise, from standardized testing standpoint, we do well. Our kids mostly are well above the 80% in all areas. So I think we do very well in those areas.
Thank you. Mr. Hauser?
Thank you. Penns Valley currently ranks in the top 8% in the state in our PSSA testing. You know, it's a state mandated testing, but I think we do very, very well academically. We are one of the few schools that has made AYP in every subcategory in the last 3 years, all 17 substandards. When you look at our debt, we have cut debt from $30 million to $24 million in the last 8 years. We were able to pay down $2 million worth of debt just a year and a half ago. Our biggest challenge is PSERS, there's no doubt about that. That's going to be the challenge of every school district in the Commonwealth. That is a major issue. And as far as our facilities are pretty sound, very sound. I would say that our elementary schools are in excellent shape. Our high school is due for a remodel in 2016. I'm hoping we can just work on some certain little projects there and keep that going without a major refunding.
What do you believe will be the most difficult decision the board will need to make in the next 5 years or so?
As all the other boards have said before us, it'll be financial. With the retirement accounts in the state being the way they are, with the over $40 billion they're borrowing, or is it 40? They're borrowing $9 this year to make payments. So obviously the retirement accounts are going to be a big deal. If our economic situation does not pick up in the state, we're going to be faced with some very difficult decisions. So from my standpoint, I believe it will be financial decisions.
Thank you. Mr. Hauser?
Yeah, I think, like I said in the last question, PSERS will be our biggest challenge. This past year, our budget increased by roughly $500,000. That was the same amount that the PSERS number increased by. So when you know that you have other costs like salaries and benefits and just additional costs escalating, and you also have PSERS escalating by the $500,000, the total growth that your budget is allowed to increase, therefore you're always going to have cuts under that kind of system. The other major problems is some of the state and federal mandates, the testing, the No Child Left Behind. All those are great challenges that are a burden on the school district. I would share that we do run 5-year financial plans on everything we do so that we know where the money is for the next 5 years. And we also have a 5-year strategic plan for the district as far as educational programming.
Thank you. And Mr. Benfer?
I think everyone covered that financial concern is a major concern, but I think bigger than that is in due of present concerns with building expansion, proposed previous building expansions, we need to regain the trust of our community, of our valley. We got to better educate them on why these needs are changing and how we're going to meet them, because I don't think, the general population has a clue what the board is up against in the next 5 years, regarding the finances and the trust and communication.
Several people question recent school construction projects, such as the 2 new gyms that they don't feel are adequate to serve the community's needs, an $800,000 locker room project that has grown to an estimated $3 million multi-purpose room, training room, and storage complex. In your view, do these projects justify tax increases, and if so, why? Thank you, Mr. Hauser.
Thank you. I think everyone's talking about the expansion going on outside of the front of the school. That's a three-phase project. That is one, updating the locker rooms that were original to 1960. There's also adding an 80 by 80 facility onto the corner of the building that will house a cardio room and a mat room. And the mats are not dedicated for there, so they could also be baseball practice. We have undertaken this project because PE programs are changing. We no longer play kickball all the time, and we can use it for lifelong skills as far as physical activity, and we think that that's very important. This was all paid for with cash and will not require a tax increase. So there are no real new gym. I'd like a new gym, Victoria, but we don't have a new gym. I don't see us getting a new gym in the near future, so the buildings were paid for with cash.
Mr. Benfer?
I'm just concerned, it seems we have this potential in our district to, well, we have an old saying that you measure twice and cut once. You know, I've heard, yes, there's some great gains to come from this addition, but people will be belittled in it. The wrestling club thought it was going to be a wrestling room. They donated $25,000, which they've been working on for years, and a statement was made in a recent forum that it wasn't that much, but it helped. You know, this is again, communication taxes are minimal when it comes to getting people back on board and supporting administration and the school board. You know, we had, like again, measure twice, cut once. We had athletes showering in a greenhouse. You know, I think we rush things through too quick. I don't understand why. I can see the gains. I can see, you know, on the horizon, you know, the goals they're trying to meet. But I think we just have to slow down and measure our moves.
Excuse me. Mr. Braucht?
I believe the last part of the question was, is it warrant a tax increase? One of my concerns was that we had a savings, and some of the board members were saying they paid cash. Well, the cash is tax dollars. So don't think that just because it was paid with cash, it wasn't tax money. It is. The question is it a good thing to spend it then? We had $9 million, now we're down to $5 million. And I think the one question we had was our future is financial problems we're going to run into. So we spent this money, and people in Penns Valley are well aware of the project. They understand the dynamics of what we're talking about here, so I won't even try and explain it. But my concern was that we rushed into it because the project that was supposed to be done, the community stopped. So this was quickly undertaken, and we're now many hundreds of thousands of dollars over budget with change orders on that already because it was done so quickly. So there was, you know, we did wait 50 years to get locker rooms. We could have waited one more, and we could have done it right. And so those are my concerns. The financial management of that, I think, was done quickly for a purpose, and that's a problem.
How would you balance providing services for students with special needs versus the other children in the district? Mr. Hauser?
Repeat the question, please.
How would you balance providing services for students with special needs versus the other children in the district?
Yeah, so I think that we do a pretty good job at that. There are lots of needs that kids have, and I firmly believe as a board member we need to meet all those needs, not just high-end students, middle-end students, but all students, either special needs students, whatever. So if we have deficits there, I'm very interested in hearing about it. I think we cover that pretty well. Recently, just 3 or 4 years ago, we did start a special room for some autistic children in the district. It was probably a novel new approach that we were working on there. And to my knowledge, that's been somewhat successful, but it is a challenge, and we continue to try to improve on all of our educational needs in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benfer?
The main reason I entered the race for candidate for school director was because of the school district mission statement, empowering our students every day to reach individual success. And that means each and every student. So I don't know how you divide out the special needs, saying, you know, every individual, whether a special needs individual or a general population student, learns it in a different way. And from my experience, you know, the main thing was inclusion, because if you divide people out put them in a separate room, that's not inclusion. You know, they're labeled, they don't learn to function in the world every day. I think inclusion, you know, the autism room sounds great, but what do those kids do when they walk out of that room? So I think, you know, we need to address every student has a different need, whether it's autism, dyslexia, whatever. You know, everyone needs to be met, every student needs to be taught individually.
Mr. Braucht?
It's tough to answer in a minute. I happen to have a daughter that has Down syndrome and does have special needs. She did mainstream through Penn Valley all of her years. Did very well. We were very pleased with what we received at Penn Valley. The issue with that is, though, now with No Child Left Behind, Common Core coming, financial problems that we're all talking about, it's obvious that the school districts need to be focused on meeting all those standards to get money. So there is a real concern that those that fall on the high end and the low end are going to have problems. So balancing that's going to be a problem. One of the things our district has is that a lot of kids were going to charter schools. We were losing $1 million a year, they said. It was suggested that those kids were kids that had IEPs. Well, I would think we need to talk to those people, find out exactly why they did that. Are they kids with IEPs? You know, what's going on? Are these kids that are on this end or that end? And be able to make sure that they can receive their education at Penn Valley.
What do you think of the district's one-to-one technology initiative? And do you think it should be extended to include students at the intermediate and elementary schools?
The one-to-one initiative, I think, has been a very successful program to date. Last year we started it in 9 through 12. We were able to implement that program with no new revenue source or no new dollars. And that's because we currently were spending roughly $200,000 on technology a year, and we're just able to reallocate how we use it. So the technology has been working very, very well. I know my kids have enjoyed it, and it's working very well for those. And we started the 7th and 8th grade program. I do envision it going on down through the system. It probably will not be the same kind of technology. It'll probably be more age-appropriate technology, but we will continue to bring technology into our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benfer.
I agree that we do need to continue our pursuit of technology in the school district. I'm just concerned. I hear in the infant stages, parents would like more control, like a computer shutting down at 10. I hear some people say, if you have an athletic event, we get home at 11, I have homework. I'm also concerned that we have to reinforce the socialization process. You know, someone staring at a screen, sending a Facebook message, people need to be able to interact, communicate socially, face to face. I just want to make sure we balance the technology and the interaction with students, teachers, administration. And we just don't stare at a screen while we're at school.
Mr. Braucht.
Yeah, I'd echo the same thing. I do think we need to have a little bit more control right now. It's 24/7. So I know some school districts that shut them down at 11 o'clock and on weekends. So I've heard parents kind of complain about it a little bit. But as far as technology, that's a no-brainer. You just got to do it. There's no way around that. As a matter of fact, if you investigate what Common Core, which our state has taken on, one of their goals is that all children will have a pad or a laptop. That's just the way it's going to be. And I would predict even in the future you're going to get funding to get that. And again, it'll be the carrot and the stick from the state. And you'll either have it and get more money, or you won't and lose money. So I think it's a very smart thing to do, and it is the future.
In this audience member's view, recent board appointments were only RCC supporters. If elected, what process would you use to make appointments, and what steps would you take to make all the decisions transparent?
That is a difficult question. I wasn't involved in any of the interviews, didn't participate or wasn't interviewed for any position. I just think that we should learn a lesson from the RCC event that, we have to be more open, be more public, communicate more, perhaps maybe we should move to a forum with the candidates, and they sit side by side and ask, answer questions at the same time. I don't know, it'd be a hard decision. I really don't know if there is a quick solution. And I don't think it should be done in one day. I don't think you can interview in one day, and a bunch of people in one day and mull over all the information and make a decision in one sitting. So I think maybe extend the process.
Thank you. Mr. Braucht?
But if I was on the board, I certainly would never pick a candidate on a single issue. You just can't do that. Not good practice. As far as transparency goes, there are things we could do. I mean, it's one of the reasons I'm actually running for a board member is because of that fact. I spent 2 years trying to find out what's going on in our school district. And seeing how school boards run and the desire for a community to be involved is a very tricky situation to do, but I think there are things that we can do. I would love to have our board meetings more than just open. It's not a spectator sport. As it is now, that's what it is. The community needs to be involved. They need to be able to question boards when they are actually a board, not board members. And they need to be able to get straight answers. And I would be moving towards that direction for our district.
Thank you. And Mr. Hauser?
When potential folks interview for a board position, it is a pretty rigorous process. They fill out an application. We are court mandated to have that position filled within 30 days after resignation. So they fill out an application, they come in, and they sit in front of the board and other members of the public, because they are open, they are interviewed, and much like we are here tonight. And what I choose on is experience, education, but I also like to look to make sure, I prefer board members to have kids in the district. Right or wrong, I think it's important to have a better understanding of what goes on in the district when your kids are involved. Back to the transparency thing, our meetings are open to the public. I encourage the public to attend. We do have sunshine laws. Those sunshine laws have always been obeyed. I did suggest recently, and I do fully expect to be implemented, that we will have videotaped online board meetings in the near future. Thank you.
Excellent. And Mr. Hauser?
I want to thank the League of Women Voters and CNET also for hosting this event. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to meet with my opponents and fellow Pennsylvania citizens. When I started on the school board 8 years ago, we had the highest taxes in Center County, and at best, average academic performance at the high school. Today, we have very high academic achievement and the lowest household tax burden in the county. We have great schools and low taxes. We have cut debt from $30 million to $24 million. We have built a biomass facility that's currently saving us over $200,000 a year. If elected, I have 4 major goals for the school district: to maintain academic excellence, to better engage parents with the school district, to improve communication with the community, and maintain low taxes. I have demanded excellence at every level of education here at Penns Valley. We must insist that every student learn the old basics as well as the new basics, so that we can be competitive in their future endeavors. You will find that I am committed and dedicated to Penns Valley, its Board of Education, the taxpayers, while we enable our students to meet their mission of reaching individual success every day. I am most proud of Penns Valley. We have great schools and low taxes. Please vote on November 5th, and thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Braucht?
Again, thank you, CNET, and thank you to the league. I'm running for school board, and I just want Penns Valley to know I'm not running because I have an agenda. I have no agenda about education, athletics, finances, any of those things. What happened was I got involved because of one issue, that's true. But I've spent 2 years now listening and watching and seeing what's going on with our school board, and that issue pointed out to me that there was a leadership problem in our district. The community is well aware of what they tried to do and what wasn't heard, how much they wanted to be heard, and from that experience I decided I wanted to run and be a part of bringing the community to the board. I don't want to bring myself to it or an agenda to it. I think we do well at education, we're doing great financially, we're doing well technology, we're just good in many ways. What we lack is a board that is truly has the community on their side and involved in our district, and they need to be, because as we said earlier, our future with financial issues we're going to run into, Common Core again, please, Penns Valley, take a look at Common Core, standardized testing, we're going to run into some issues in our valley that need to be solved, and we need to do it together. What I've seen is that with our present board, people are divided and angry. And I think that needs to be fixed, and part of that might have to be that the board has to be changed. And what I want to be is a part of the leadership that can draw the community to the board, make them a part of the board's decision-making process, and help us work through those issues in the future.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Benfer?
Thank you. I'd like to thank the league and CNET also. I'd like to thank my fellow candidates for being here and having interest in the board and Penn Valley. And we all know Penn Valley's heritage is rich. You know, I want people to come to Penn Valley because of what we are and who we are, not for what we can become or what they want to make us. You know, like I said before, I started this because our mission states that we are empowering our students every day to reach individual success. I just have concerns it has to be for each and every student. I don't know how we're going to do it. It's a tightrope. We're doing, like they said, we're doing it with technology. You know, money's going to be a problem. The focus has to be on the student. And I think to best do that, we have a monumental task of developing trust again in the community, communicating with them, and getting them on board, because the history of Penn Valley is strong. So I would just like to ask, whatever your preference is, vote, make your voice heard. This is your opportunity. You know, speak now. Thank you.
Thank you. Please join me in thanking all the candidates for